Hello everyone, I'm Colin. Have you got a tool in your workshop that drives you crazy? Well, I've got several of them, and today I'm going to go through the list. They're not bad tools. For me, they just do not do the job, and I'm going to show you why. So stick around and let's have a look at these terrible tools. If you've been following my channel for a while, you'll know that several months ago I made this new plywood workbench, and I love it. It's nice and light, and it's easy to move around because of that. And on it, I installed these casters that you can push down with your foot and move it around. Let me tell you why I've grown to hate these. When I first looked at these, I thought this was such a great idea, but here's the problem. I've got 4 of them on this workbench, and because they're not together, as soon as you push down on one, now all of a sudden the workbench it wiggles because it's one of them is up and 3 of them are down. So you need to push the other one down, of course, to make it go up as well. So that's a little bit annoying. There should be something where you can push one and one side comes up all together. Now, the other thing that I don't like about these things is, well, that's maybe another one. But the other thing I don't like about these things is because they flop around here, and you can see that I put some extra screws and some bolts on here to try and stop this. Sometimes I need to move my bench like maybe just 6 inches without having to put the wheels up. I can just slide it along the casters. The problem is, because these things flop around, when you slide it along, sometimes these casters catch and they will flip up on their own. They go like this, they start moving up. So then I got to come over and flip this down and knock them down. And as soon as I find something that is good that I can replace these things with, they're out of here. The next item on my list are these little guys, and these are called transfer balls. Let me show you what they were designed for. So if you work in a warehouse situation, and these are kind of old school, you would have had tables with hundreds of these on, and the purpose of them was to move packages. So you could move packages, boxes, for example. You could move them along from station to station because things would roll across them. But somebody in woodworking thought these would be a marvelous thing to use as an outfeed table. And I can tell you, and I bought into it, they are terrible. And here's why. Because you can't get them close enough together unless you buy dozens of them, because they really need to overlap. Because if you set them up like I did, like this, what happens is when you have something that you're pushing through your table saw, for example, if you hit one and it slides over, see how it's gone between the 2 of them? Now you can't get it up, and if it's smaller and falls down this far, the next thing you know, you're putting some pressure on the blade. You're putting angle on the blade on your table saw, for example, because your wood is not being supported. The best thing is nothing is a flat surface or a roller, anything but these transfer balls. I quit using them years ago because that's what would happen. If you put dozens of them together, which gets very expensive because these things aren't cheap, it would work. But the way they show you is not a good suggestion. So if you're thinking about using transfer balls, you might want to think about a different option. So here's a tool that I bought probably 10 years ago, and I actually did a video on it when I first got it, and it seemed to work back then, but since then I cannot get this thing to sharpen drill bits for me. I have tried and tried. I don't know how many times I have tried and how many hours I've spent, 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there, 15 minutes here. I cannot get this thing to work. Now, this is a 350X. There's also, this has been discontinued. There was a 350XC, which I think is also discontinued because now there's a 350XP. So clearly somebody else was not having exactly the best luck with it either. If you have one of these and it's working for you, maybe you can let us know in the comments so we can all learn. Maybe there's something I'm doing wrong, but I've read the instructions. I've wasted so much time trying to sharpen drill bits on it that this is now going to the not usable tools anymore for me. So that's another one that is off my list. Here's a recent purchase that I made. This is the Kreg measuring bar system. And you know, when you see it in the store, you think, oh, well, that's pretty nice. Comes in a little plastic box. But once you get home and start using it, you realize how annoying it is to use. Because first of all, you have to open the lid for something. Now, you got to remember, this is replacing this 20-year-old bar system that I have. So the first thing you got to do is open the lid. This one, I don't. They're right there. They're quick and handy to use. The next thing I want to do, I want to see what size I need to use. Well, somebody in their wisdom has got a scale on the side, but look at, they made it gray on gray. And I have a well-lit workshop and I still can't read those. I got to get down close to see what size I want. But then you say, well, look, they printed on the side, but when you're looking at it like this, there's no size on there. You can't see what size it is. So you go to lift something up and look at, you don't just lift it up. No. You got to lift it up and pull it out, because look at what they've got. Somebody's gone and done. See that? They've got a little slot for the end to fit in there. So you can't just lift something up to look at it. No, you got to slide it out. And then to put it back, you got to do the same. You got to slide it back in the slot. The whole thing is just super annoying. And one of the selling features was, well, you could measure the height of your bit or blade. And I thought, well, that's a good idea, until I realized I already do that with this. You know, there's a 1/2 inch. I can measure that. If I want to combine a 1/2 inch and a 1/4 and get the height of that, I can combine these to any combination that I want. Quick and easy. I don't have to, and these are very hard to stack when you're combining heights or measuring, and there should be a measuring bar on each side. They only have it on one side. Just the whole thing is just annoying to use. So that's relegated to one of the tools that I don't use anymore. Several years ago, I went out and bought the Milwaukee 12-volt system. And the first thing I bought was this little driver. What an excellent tool. I just love this tool. I've put this thing through so much work. This is probably the best tool I have ever owned. I was having such good luck, I thought, well, I'll buy the oscillating tool. What another great tool. Again, something I've used a lot. And since I was on a roll, I thought, well, why don't I go out and buy the reciprocating saw? Well, that was a big mistake, because the first thing I wanted to do was to cut some metal. So I went out and bought myself a little metal cutting blade, and it didn't work very well. In fact, I was only cutting through little bolts, and this thing took forever if it even got through just little small bolts. It was just terrible. So I thought, maybe it will cut through wood. So, because Colin, maybe you've got the wrong blade. So I went out and bought some blades. Look at the blades I bought. What color do you want? How many teeth? What size? And it is very poor at cutting through wood. It just doesn't have the power. So then I thought, well, I can at least use it as a pruning device for cutting branches. No. It is so poor and so slow, you can actually use hand snips are far quicker than using this. Even with the pruning blade, I absolutely hate using this blade. So this is another one that's been relegated to the Colin doesn't use it anymore pile. So, well, that concludes my video for today. And if you've got one of these tools that I dislike and it's working for you, that's great. Maybe you could write a comment in the section below and tell us maybe I'm doing something wrong with it, or maybe I'm expecting too much from it. But just because I can't use them doesn't mean they're bad tools, just means that Colin's not having any luck with it. So anyway, that concludes my video for today. I'm Colin for Woodwork Web. Thanks for watching.